Sup guys, this is another Naruto CCG deck profile. This is a retake of my pain deck because I didn't like the other video I made. So, pain deck. I'm going to start off with zeros. 2 Giant Chameleon. It's limited to 2 on the list that I play on, which makes sense because Giant Chameleon is really good with Pain Animal Path, and Animal Path can put him into play with her effect on turn 1 when you bring her out. So you end up having a team with a 5 combat ninja and a 3 support ninja. So 8 team power on turn 1. And that's really good. So it makes sense why Chameleon is limited. He's a really essential card for pain decks. And because he's limited, I play other cards to try to find him and Animal Path as soon as possible. I kind of give up more of the turbo aspect of the deck with Nagato and Eyes of Pain to move your turn marker up a lot more to go for the consistency, and that's what I hope to be getting out of this version. So with that out of the way, we'll go to the next zero. 3 Panda. He is the next best animal. He prevents your void ninjas from being damaged. And then next we have 3 Utakata because he can get your Chameleon from your deck. So if you turn 0, you end up drawing in your hand, you have Utakata and Pain Animal Path. You basically have Chameleon. He's basically the copies 3, 4, and 5 of Chameleon for this deck. So that's why I play him. And then last 0 drops, we have 2 Kushina because pretty much everything in the deck has ambush, and if you hit ambush ninjas, it's just like drawing cards. Next we have 1 drops. These are the last animal ninjas that I play. 2 Giant Rhinos. They prevent your Rinnegan ninjas effect text from being negated, and also they can get really big if there's a high entrance cost ninja on the battlefield with a big combat. Like if you have your Pain Deva Path out, or even your Naraka Path, he's going to become a 5 until someone plays a higher entrance cost. So he is kind of underrated because I feel like a lot of people forget about effect text of Rinnegan ninjas cannot be negated, and that stops a lot of stuff. If your opponent's trying to dehydration your Animal Path and you have this guy out, her effect can't be negated. The only way to really negate her effect is to use a comp strength, because it doesn't negate the effect, it changes the effect. But there's just stuff like Sabaru and stuff like that where if you have Rhino and Animal Path, her effect can't get negated. So that's cool. 2 Tobis. He searches for Void World. Void World is the main card in the deck that you want when you have your Animal Path Chameleon combo going. It just draws you a lot of cards, and it makes up for the fact that you don't have a lot of turn marker manipulation cards, because if you're drawing cards, you're gonna get to them faster and you don't need to play such a high concentration of them. Next, the most important card in the deck is Pain Animal Path. I have 3 in here. I don't know where the other one is. I gotta find it real quick. Oh, there it is. Alright, so during your mission phase, you can discard a card and then put in play a Rinnegan Animal Ninja card from your Chakra area or discard pile. So she just gets you another ninja out every turn, and that combos really well with Void World, getting counters on it, and then just getting you more sacrifice fodder because all of your Pain ninjas have sacrifice. So very important card for the deck. Next we have 2 drops. We have 3 Naraka Path. You want to see this guy every game, but he's not as important as seeing Animal Path in the early game, because Animal really gets your engine going. Naraka is the second most important though, because he brings out your heretical icon. But you can kind of go a little while without having him, because you can bring him out with summoning Jutsu Pain, you can draw into him, you're not in as much pressure to have it early, but still one of the best cards in the deck. Next, we have 2 Path, 3 drops. EOJ, you can pay 0 if your turn marker is odd, negate target jutsu, or negate target effect. So it's a negate on a stick, and if you have your Deva Path out with this guy, your opponent's just not going to win the jutsu war, because you'll likely have a couple jutsus, maybe a Hand of Pain, which if this guy uses it, he gets expert, and you return it to your hand. So really good for locking down that late game. And then next we have 4 drop ninjas. We have 1 Hedon, because he's basically a free sacrifice every turn if it's turn 4, and if you move your turn marker up by 1, you can get him out earlier, so good. Next, 1 Kurenai. I play her in almost every deck. She can stall for a turn if you really need it, help you get back in the game. Next, 1 Pain Human Path. So I played this one because it has the passive effect, which is valid, of your opponent plays with their hand revealed, and the effect text of your opponent's in-play cards with the same name as any card in their hand are negated. So the main reason is because I can look at my opponent's hand the whole time that he's out. I play this one over the one that snipes 2 out of your opponent's hand, because it's pretty luck-based. You could end up hitting the best 2 cards in your opponent's hand. You could end up hitting the worst. It just depends. But with this, you just always know what they have. So really solid at any point in the game. And despite how many cards your opponent has in their hand. 5 drops, I do not have any because I didn't think anything was good enough, but my 6 drops are 3 of the Big Boss Pain Deva Path. So what he does is, during EOJ, you can move your turn marker down by X, and then target opposing ninja with an entrance cost of X becomes a standby ninja. So you can push 0 drops for free, because you pay X, which is 0, and then you push it out of their team, so that's really good. And then he makes your turn marker considered odd and even, so your Pain ninjas will all have their effects every turn, which is pretty insane when you think about Naraka Path, his second effect of when your turn marker is even, your opponent can't play mission cards or activate effects of ninjas with odd entrance cost, and then it just makes Path be able to negate a jutsu or effect every turn. It's just insane. And I play 3 of him because this is the only Pain that doesn't have ambush. So if you charge him, you're not going to be able to get him back. Next, missions. 3, Void World, 0 drop, no hand cost. Whenever you play a Void Ninja, put a coin on it, remove 2 coins, and then get the bottom card of your deck to your hand. So the main draw power of the deck with the Animal Path engine. Next, for zeros, we have Lord's Convene. You reveal the top 5, add a ninja to your hand. It's good for if you really need to find Animal Path or Chameleon, and you don't have Utakata, and you don't mind that it makes you go -1 when you use it, because 1, you can just use an ambush ninja for the hand cost and just play that ninja later, and 2, when you have Animal Path and Chameleon and another animal, you're going to be putting out a lot of animals every turn and getting a lot of counters on your Void World. So that's why I play that. 3, Invasion. Draw 1, then draw for each ninja you have with sacrifice. All your Pains have sacrifice, so you can end up drawing 3-4 cards off this. And then last missions, we have 3, the Time of Pain. If you have 2 or more Rinnegan and or Akatsuki ninjas, you can move your turn marker up by 1, then move 1 card from the bottom of your deck to your hand. So this is one of the few turn marker manipulation cards I play, but I've found that it's enough with just a couple jutsus that move your turn marker up by 1. You don't really need the turbo turn marker manipulation. If you just move up your turn marker like once or twice in the game, you're dropping your Deva Path 2 turns, like when your opponent's on turn 3 or 4 or something. So really solid, one of the few turn manipulation cards I play. Next we have Jutsu. So I have 2 Fangs of Pain. Move your turn marker up by 1. It's just a solid card. All of your animals can use it. Next, 2 Hand of Pain, because it has Expert with Preda Path. So when you use a jutsu, it negates another jutsu, and then if Preda Path is the user, this goes back to your hand. So it's like you have a negate for every turn, or you could even use it after one jutsu chain resolves. If your opponent is dumb enough to try to go for another, you do it again. Next, we have one of the most important jutsu in the deck, Summoning Jutsu Pain. You get 2 Rinnegan ninjas from your deck, with X or less being their total combined entrance cost, and X is your turn marker. So you can get, let's say you're on turn 3, you can get a 3 and a 0, you can get a 2 and a 1, you can even get a 1 and a 1 if you want, because it's X or less. So really solid. And then if Animal Path is the user, you move a card from the bottom of your deck to your hand. That Expert on Animal Path is good for just keeping the consistency of the deck up, and you're likely going to have Animal Path when you're wanting to use Summoning Jutsu. So next we have Hydro Pump, because it's Hydro Pump. It snipes 2 ninjas. It's basically kinda like the 4th copy of this card, which is Almighty Push. This combos insanely well with Deva Path, because what Almighty Push does is it costs XX, which means whatever you pay for X, you have to pay double that to play it. But if Deva Path is the user, it only costs X. So it cuts the costs in half, and then you apply the following effects according to your turn marker. Odd is X ninja on the battlefield becomes standby ninjas, and then even is move X cards from the top and bottom of your deck to your hand. Since this guy considers your turn odd and even, when you play this, you get both effects, which is insane. If you end up with this guy late game with a couple of these, you just win the game. There's no way your opponent can get around that. Even if you don't win the game that turn, you have so many cards in your hand that next turn you're just gonna completely outvalue them. So 3 Almighty Push, one of my favorite jutsu in the game. So that's it for the main deck. My extra deck is pretty small, just 3 of these guys, 3 heat on so he doesn't get sniped, and then 3 Heretical Icon. It's really good. Start of your turn, you can put a Pain Ninja into play from your discard pile by removing this guy. Also at the start of your turn, you could heal a Rinnegan Ninja, and he can also be used for sacrifice fodder, because you bring out with Naraka Path, and then next turn you use him for a sacrifice. You can just bring out another one with Naraka Path. So you pretty much always have this guy out when you have Naraka Path. And then the rest of the extra deck is nothing important. You would just want to throw a bunch of ninjas in there to make sure that your icons and your heat on don't get sniped. So just a bunch of random stuff. So that's it for the deck. Let me know how you guys feel about this Nagato-less version of the deck, and I'll see you next time.